So spirituality in essence means being concerned with the spirit. And what exactly is spirit? Okay, let's start with the basics. This knowledge is the foundation. If you understand this, spirituality is very easy to understand. It's repeated in all yoga texts again and again to help us remember. So there's a difference between matter and spirit. Matter has no consciousness, no living symptoms whatsoever, whereas spirit does. So wherever there is spirit, there's consciousness. So in other words, consciousness is a symptom of the self, the soul. We're a spiritual living entity stuck within the body. The body is simply just a covering, a layer. Just like we have clothes on top of our body, the body is just simply a covering over the soul. Now the next question may be, what about the mind? Is the mind also a covering, or are we the mind? Well, the yoga texts explain that no, we're not the mind, we're not the body, we're the self. How to understand we're not the mind? Well, have you ever had an argument within your head, with yourself, where you feel this pressure, this force, something telling you must do this, and on the other hand, you're pushing back saying, no, I don't really want to do it. That's you arguing with your mind. And it takes two entities to argue. So you're not your mind, you're separate from your mind. So you're not the body, you're not the mind, you're the soul. Now, the whole idea behind spirituality is to come to this point of acting on that platform. Because the whole reason why we're unhappy is because we're trying to satisfy the body and the mind, which is not us. The soul seeks happiness, but when we seek happiness through the body, through the mind, it just simply causes distress and anxiety. But if you go ahead and develop a spiritual lifestyle based on understanding the soul and acting on that platform, that's where happiness lies. So one thing I'd really like to stress here is that spirituality is a lifestyle. It's not just boring, dry philosophy. It's an application of that philosophy in one's life. All the yoga texts, especially the Bhakti Yoga texts, mention how one can mold their lifestyle so that they can act on the platform of the spirit soul. So here are some examples on how you can apply spiritual knowledge in your life from the Bhakti Yoga text. The first example given is a very simple example. Everyone's experienced this. Happiness, distress. Heat, cold. Honor, dishonor. They're known as dualities. These dualities are simply obstacles in our life. Why? Because when one starts thinking that they're the body, they're the mind, then these dualities appear. That this will give me happiness, this won't give me happiness. This is good, this is bad. And it's all based on the body and the mind. But the yoga texts explain that tolerate these understanding of happiness and distress. Tolerate it, but continue on with your spiritual activities. Continue on with your spiritual practices. By doing that and dedicating your life to spiritual knowledge and the application, one will immediately be elevated to the spiritual platform. Another example given in the Bhakti Yoga texts on how you can apply spiritual knowledge in your life is by seeing everyone equal on the spiritual platform, regardless of what their jobs are, regardless of any other designations such as their religion, their color, anything. You start to see them equally as spiritual souls. In other words, you give yourself an opportunity to always remember your own nature as a spirit soul, and by interacting with them on that platform, you give them a chance to always remember that they are also a spirit soul and not this body and the mind. That's just basic application of spiritual knowledge given in the Bhakti Yoga texts. You can go a step further and advance much more quickly in your spiritual life when you understand what matter is, what spirit is, and understand what the controller of both are, the super self. When you go and understand more about the super self, that's when spiritual life becomes even more interesting and joyful. So in short, spirituality means being concerned with spirit. In other words, you have to have a lifestyle dedicated to understanding how you're the spirit soul and you're not this body, you're not the mind. So what is a spiritual lifestyle? What is the super self that advances one's spirituality? That we can answer later.